What is up, guys? Welcome to our YouTube channel. We are going to go live right now. It's not live, but it's been previously recorded with Shumaker, Matthew Shumaker of Tech Rails. He came all the way down here to visit us at 1WHEELPARTS.
15 hours. 15-hour drive.
Dude, he loves us. He loves us. So he came down here. We had some Mexican food right now, and we talked about 3 amazing topics that you guys are going to want to tune into, all right? We talked about the brand new motor, the Revolver that's coming out from Tech Rails. We talked about the 357s and all the cool rails that are coming out. And we talked about the billets. There's word of a 5-inch. So let's get it. We're down here in Texas with Matthew Shumaker. He came down here all the way from Chicago area. He's business partners with us at 1WHEELPARTS, and we wanted to go ahead and have him just see our daily operation, and we have lots to talk about because we just talked a whole lot. So we wanted to bring you guys up to speed. A couple things we were going to talk about was we got this stator that Shumaker is bringing to the market. You want to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about the stator that we're coming out with, the motor? It's called the Revolver, right?
So the stator that we're coming out with, we're calling it the Revolver. It is the first industry-specific high-performance stator. So you come to the realization over time that frame rails are phenomenal, foot pads, tires, it's all valuable, important stuff, but what really isn't being addressed much is the performance side. You do have vest controllers and that's great, but when it comes to the wheel itself, there aren't very many options. And so we already have our experience with our billet wheels, and the next step logically for me was to make the stator. And there were a number of things that I could see in the factory stators that were done for mass production purposes, but that we could optimize for performance. So that was the reason we started going in that direction.
Nice. And so how long have you been working on the Revolver?
I would say it started about a year back as I began having conversations with different people that in the electric motor industry that I know, and then going back maybe 6 months ago, I decided that it was something that I wanted to pursue head on, and then it's been now, I'd say, 4 months that we've been in earnest in the design and prototyping and tooling up and all of that. So it's it has been accelerating, but it's something that's been on my mind for the better part of a year. Part of that was because we started making the wheels, what, a year and a half ago now, and initially it would have been great to make a wheel and stator combo, but that just wasn't in the cards. And it's been an educational experience getting to the point too where what is there within that stator that we could improve? How can we improve upon it? Is it producible?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think with One Wheel, how it's like evolving so quickly, everyone has kind of, like with the float wheel coming out, everyone kind of has like had to pick in the BESK world, the float wheel or the BESK, right? And I think it's really cool that we're on the team BESK to put out a motor that is going to compete with this float wheel, because the float wheel, just from online, when I look, it looked kind of powerful, and yeah, I'm wanting to beat the float wheel, you know. So I think with the Revolver, that's kind of what I'm excited about, is putting in like a BESK build. It's actually made for just the GT, or is it a GT BESK?
Good question. So ultimately, we want a turnkey GT stator with the connector and the harness, and you can bolt it right onto your GT. But for initial testing, we're both going to test it on the GT and on the BESK platform for a lot of reasons. Number one, on the BESK side, you can command more performance out of the stator because we're not amp limited in the same way we would be with the original FM controller. But it's important that this be a product that works with the FM board as a plug and play solution, partly because, let's face it, the quality of FM, they're a large company. They've been able to debug things to get to the point where it's a very turnkey product. It's a consumer grade product. And it would be nice to be able to tap into that and make our stator work with it. So that's kind of the goal. But we also know that on the BESK side of things, that's where the super high performance is at. And when it comes to, are we going to be able to compete with other BESK options that are out there, or the float wheel, only time will tell. But The difference would be that both with the float wheel and any other VESC-specific motor option is that they're produced with low cost in mind, which is fantastic, and it does help to get people into the sport. But at the same time, what we've always done in our product line is focus first on performance, and affordability isn't thrown out the window. We want to make sure that products are produced at a price point that people can afford, but we are not the Ford, Escort of the one-wheel products. We're more the McLaren or Lamborghini. We're kind of at the high end of things, and so cost is secondary to performance. And in that regard, I don't want to talk down on either the stator that FM uses in their boards or some of the other options that are out there, the Cannon core that's in the float wheel. I don't want to talk down on those at all. They're designed to a price point, and there's a marketing argument for that. Ours isn't designed for a price point; it's designed for a performance point. So that's our starting position.
What kind of improvements did you make?
So there were a handful of things. Item number one, thicker wall axle, a lot stronger. And but that greater wall thickness not only increases strength, but it also is greater heat flow from the stator stack in through the axle. Because with an outrunner motor that all these are, meaning the outside of the motor rotates and the center part of the motor is what's stationary, really the primary way to shed heat is through the axle. You do shed some through the wheel, but primarily it's through the axle. And where you've got the axles narrowing down where the O-ring groove is, not only is the axle weaker there, which it's fine for normal riding, but for the hardcore guys, the axle weakens in that area, but you also are bottlenecking the heat flow. So greater wall thickness is added strength and more heat flow. So that's number one. Item number two, far more copper fill. So it's proprietary as far as exactly how much copper fill and the wind that we're using and the wire gauge and that, but far greater copper fill, which requires different lamination design, different axle design. I mean, it's a cascading effect. And what that does is the greater copper fill gives far more heat headroom before heat saturation occurs, and your efficient, the amount of amps you can draw within the efficiency range is higher when you have more copper fill. So, so those are our goals, and also the axle is between the axle itself and where it contacts the laminations is solid rather than hollow, and the Future Motion axle is hollow in that area, which saves weight and that. But in our instance, we're shrinking the axle down in order to make the large part of the barrel of the axle is slightly smaller. Where the laminations attach. If you look at a stock Future Motion axle, the axle comes out and gets really huge where the laminations are. We reduce the lamination diameter portion of the axle, and that is to put more lamination and get more copper fill in. It's not just a matter of adding more copper windings to an existing lamination. It's our own laminations, our own tooling, our own. It's a complete redesign that just happens to have the same physical dimensions of the stators that Future Motion makes.
Nice. So a complete redesign, smaller axle but solid, and that's going to give us more area to have more winding, more copper winding.
Yeah, and let me just reiterate that I don't want to confuse anybody. Where the axles are at the outer perimeters and where the bearings are, same diameter. But it's just that larger barrel part of the center of the axle where the laminations are, we shrunk that barrel size down in order to fit more lamination within the same outer dimension to get it to fit into the wheel. This will be reverse compatible, and so it will fit into an FM wheel if that's what you want to do, or one of our billet wheels.
Nice. So this Revolver is going to be for the GT straight up. It's going to be for the GT VESC. Now, does it come with the whole wheel? Can we take the stator out of the wheel and put it in other hubs? Elaborate a little bit on that.
That's something that we will discuss a little bit more later. But I'll say this, that we are working on a number of different wheel designs, and so there will be a handful of options. You'll be able to get the stator and the billet wheel as a turnkey unit, or just the stator if you'd like, or just the billet wheel. If you have a factory FM board and you just want to pull your stator out, put it in the wheel, as we've been doing with our current billet wheels, you'll still have that option. Right now, the wheel part of the one wheel is really uncharted territory that we pioneered a year and a half ago with our first billet wheel, and we've been slowly over time learning more and more and refining that design. Even the latest batch of wheels that we have coming, we've been able to tweak ever so slightly and refine them a couple percent here and there, and so the performance is improving even just with the rotating part of the wheel. But now that we're making our own stator, that should be it'll be taking it to the next level, and I'm excited about it. This is something that has taken a handful of engineers, quite a bit of time. A lot of resources have been poured into this, and it's our hope that we have not just some basic different stator that if you bend your axle or break it you can get another stator, but it is higher performance, not just in the VESC realm, because let's face it, with VESC you can force more performance out of an existing motor, but also in a factory setting as well. It's our hope that, I believe this will be reality, that our wheel and stator combo just plugged into an otherwise stock FM board will perform better than the original components. And that's due to increased efficiency and just stronger magnets, tighter magnet to lamination tolerance. So.
Well, that sounds awesome. How long until the Revolver is probably around?
Good question.
Yeah, right here. Revolver, for that Revolver. Who knows what the Revolver price is going to be, but we had to move tables because of lighting, and yeah, we just had to move tables. So here we are, back with number 2 out of 3 subjects here with Matthew Shumaker. Number 1 was the Revolver. Let you guys have a little bit of insight about the new awesome motor that we got coming out that's going to be just turnkey for your GT and for your GT VESC projects. But the second thing on the agenda today, these rails. I feel like we just had a very successful first racing season with the 357Ts. I don't even think we've talked about this, but literally the fastest guy in the league, talking about Jafari, he is the fastest guy in the racing league. He's number 1, and he's racing the 357, so is rocking the 357Ts. He was a rider that was really fast on the XR. The very first race this year, he was racing the XR, and I was like, dude, I know you need to transition to the GT to get race for the rail. You need to get on these rails. And through his performances and through the feedback that I've gotten from him all season, he is just over the top appreciative of the 357Ts, because it was actually how he got on the GT and was able to like transition very comfortably. Anyway, yeah, I think that's something that's awesome to talk about, that your rails that you designed literally are the fastest rails in the league.
So I want to give credit where credit's due. So a number of people had influenced me, at least in the direction of asymmetrical rails. So Mattson, who works with you guys, he had reached out to me and wanted me to build him a set of asymmetrical rails that were steeper at the tail than the nose. I know this is a while back, a year ago, whatever. And it's not that I was against it necessarily, but I had a lot on my plate. And other people were asking. And eventually I thought, the whole 3-degree nose and tail thing, I'm very familiar with that. And before custom shaping had come out, and before VESC was as big as it is now, we were kind of stuck with a 3-degree nose. And I thought, well, I know we need more at the tail. And I had tried 3.9 before. A few people liked that, but to me that was too steep. It just seemed like about 10 degrees or so combined between front and rear was about right. And so to that end, the 357s were born. 3.5 degrees in the nose is nice, because if you are setting the board at 3 degrees nose tilt, you end up with an extra ½ degree nose down of the board overall, and that's been helpful. That ½ degree does actually make a bit of a difference. Also, I have to point out that there's a difference between asymmetrical rails and symmetrical rails. So if you take rails that are just very, very deep nose and tail angles and lean them forward, there's a difference there between that symmetrical forward lean posture versus our asymmetrical angle. And the reason for that is if you have symmetrical rails that you just lean the whole rail forward, you're lowering the nose to get that same aggressive lean forward posture. Whereas with our rails, you've got that angle change doesn't occur at the axle, it occurs at the heels. And therefore you end up with a more forward aggressive lean posture without sacrificing nose ground clearance. And that, coupled with the height adjustability, those were the two key things I think that made the rails as successful as they are. I've also been blessed that I have a little bit of ability to see ahead before a product is released to circumvent potential problems. And there were a number of aspects of that asymmetrical design that I was able to sort of, problems I could fend off, so that the first couple sets that we made just worked really well. I noticed that one of the guys at the shop is still running the first ever prototype set of 357s. Non-trust, these were not the KATANAS, these were just early 357 rails, and that's a testament to the fact that that was the first production set and they just work. One thing that I really want to point out too is that I've had people ask about the 357Ts and why are they so expensive compared to like the KATANAS or some of the other rails in the market. The reason is that the 357Ts, it's not a rail set, it's an entire chassis system. So you've got the rails, you've got proprietary adjustable height clamping finned axle carriers and all aluminum hardware. So it's a complete chassis system. With the, say, the KATANA rails, they're just a set of rails. And the fact that they're solid-sided, they don't take as much machine time. You still get that 357 angle with two height position settings, and therefore you can get much of the performance advantage for a fraction of the money. But if you have the extra money to spend, the 357Ts do take you to that next level. Mm-hmm. And it's not just looks, they're lighter weight, they are what I call tuned compliance. Compliance is the ability of material to move just slightly under various stresses, I guess you'd say, and different loading. So on a vehicle, on cars, motorcycles, they talk about chassis compliance. That does come into play with a one wheel as well. And with the trussed rails, there's some compliance there. There's a little bit of movement. It's not that you feel them spongy or anything like that, but we can change the thickness of those trusses. We can change the thickness of the upper and lower spars to sort of tune that compliance. You rode a set of the titanium rails, and those have that chassis compliance sort of taken to the next level. And but that's something that you really can't achieve, or at least not in the same way, with a solid C-channel rail. Mm-hmm. So that's what the trussed rails bring to the game that solid rails don't.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was actually the first time I stepped on the titanium 357s a minute ago, and it was kind of like the same difference as like going from the KATANAS to the Ts and then the Ts to the titaniums. I was able to feel a little bit of weight difference even there, because the titaniums, are they a little...
Yeah, they're 20%, 21% lighter than the 357Ts, which are lighter than the KATANAS.
Yeah. So the 357s, I mean, I like the Ts the best just because, like you said, they come with the whole system. You're able to dial in. Like right in the beginning when I started racing the 357s, I raced Vegas with it all the way slammed, and I loved it. As soon as I went out to Arkansas and started training for the Dirt Surfers event, the rollers made me just go up one adjustment up, and it was really cool because I did this on the trail. And so, like we always say, like you can really dial in these rails. Well, you really can, because I didn't have to be back at the shop. I was literally on the trail, needed a little more clearance, and was able to just take my wrench out and make it happen. So
60 seconds. It takes 60 seconds.
The 357Ts are like the trail lord, the person that's trying to go the hardest on the trails. I feel like that's their go-to rail. The cool thing about the KATANAS though is like you can kind of get it as you build it. Like you can get the KATANAS, like you said, it has the second height adjustment, but then you get the crazy hubs a couple weeks later and you're almost at the 357T.
Yeah, you can build your way there essentially. There's still a little bit of differences there, but you can get 95% of the way there by buying the KATANAS, then buying the crazy hubs after the fact. Mm-hmm. So the 357Ts are for the person that has the money isn't as big a concern. They want that last little bit. They will bring you that last little bit. And I've had a few people express some concerns about dirt getting inside. You have to understand that all rails, solid-sided rails, there is opening on the inside. Dirt gets in there, but now it won't get out. Mm-hmm. With the Ts, yeah, they get dirty, but the dirt can fall right out. Compressed air, they're really easy to clean. Oh yeah. Will mud get in there? Well, yeah, it's going to get into anything. But also compressed air will evacuate the mud if you get it before it dries. So yes, dirt will get inside, but it's a lot easier to clean. And just overall serviceability, I love the fact that I can look through and look at the connectors, and there's something about the design that I like. You do get some amount of airflow also inward toward the axle carriers and into the wheels to get a little bit more better cooling. So we tried to do everything that we could do to maximize the design. I mean, you can take things to the edge. The titanium rails are a good example. Not a whole lot of people have $2,500 to spend on a set of rails. Those are that edge better than the aluminum 357Ts, but they're a whole lot more money. The 357Ts, they're 70-75 aluminum. They're very high grade aluminum. They are the furthest we could take a chassis system without going through the stratosphere on price. The 357s force you into an aggressive posture. And not that you can't just cruise on them, I do. But what I find is, if I take out one of my boards with saber rails on it, those are great for cruising. So I'll go cruising and I'll come home and I'll look and I'll see, oh, my average speed was 15.2 miles an hour, as an example. So then I'll go out on the board with the 357Ts, come back, and I've been averaging 17.8 or 18 miles an hour. Not that I'm trying, it kind of naturally puts you in this forward cant. Mm-hmm. And you're automatically faster. And there's also a greater degree of that sense of locked in with the 357s, just because you have 10.5 degrees of combined angle rather than the 6 degrees of combined angle that I would have with the 3.3s. And that angle, though, it is a personal preference thing. So not everybody is going to be focused in that direction, and that's going to suit them. But the majority of people that I've had ride all of my boards between flat rails, 3.3, and the 357s, most people gravitate toward the 357s and prefer them. But for those that don't, yeah, there's other options, but that really does seem to be the board angle, the rail angles that suit the majority of the riders. Ultimately, I looked at, again, we made 3.9 also for the XR, and a few people liked them, but it was just too aggressive for me. And but 3.6 wasn't enough. And it is interesting how you, with a one-wheel device like this, little changes matter a lot.
Oh yeah.
So people don't realize, I've had people ask, well, why don't you make like 6 degree at the nose and 12 at the tail or some crazy thing? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You can't shoot for the moon like that. Tiny little changes. This is why 1 PSI in your tire will change the ride so tremendously. Rail angles are no different in that regard. One other thing I want to point out is that one of the things that we focus on as a company is product compatibility across our line. And though that may sound obvious, because everybody that makes products makes sure that they're reverse compatible with their other items in their product line, we do it in a different way, though. We don't just make sure that, well, if we make this product, it has to fit with that other product. We make sure that everything will work together as a whole. And we haven't yet discussed this at all today. This is just, I'm bringing this up on the spur of the moment, but our fender deletes. The fender deletes don't just look pretty and keep you from having to trim your deletes, but they actually help tie the frame rails together. It adds chassis rigidity. Again, it's adding even more to our product line. So those, what seem to be decorative fender deletes, are actually functional. They do add some torsional rigidity to tie the left and right frame rails stronger together. And this is the goal of every product that we design and market, is to make sure that it not only is compatible with, but it enhances all of our other products. We also try to be as compatible with other products in the industry as well, but we're more focused on our own product line first and foremost. So now when it comes to the VESC community, we've got them covered also. Jeff is riding one of only a couple sets of extended length KATANAS, Katana XLs, and that allows for a much larger diameter tire. And I know you were reaching out to me for a while, dude, these big tires, they're the cheat code, man, we got to get this going. Extended rails is something that I've been doing forever. Extended rails, short rails, we've been messing with this for a long time. But the extended KATANAS really are, that sort of opens up a new realm, primarily in the VESC community, although I think you could probably make it work on a stock GT. It would be a little bit of effort, but in the VESC community, that's, I think, really where it's at, because you can run a larger diameter tire and still all accessories fit. I've had a few people ask, yeah, but now you're going to have to trim bumpers to make them fit these longer rails. No, the rails are lengthened between the axle and the tire side of the bumper and controller boxes, so everything bolts right on. There's no compatibility issues. So the extended frame rail market is something that we want to attack heavily, especially as we move more and more into the VESC community. But that's right now where VESC isn't there yet, but it's heading there.
Yeah, over the next several months, man, I'm looking forward to giving you a lot of feedback on the Katana XLs. It's VESC season, basically, like the ORL just finished, and the next big race was going to be the underground circuit. So I'm actually hoping that the Katana XLs are going to take take my riding to the next level with that bigger tire and that bigger setup. So really looking forward to getting some time on them.
Well, and I'm hoping too. You're a more aggressive rider than I am. I ride primarily street, and though I carve hard, that's about all I do. And so for me, larger tire and therefore extended rails, not that they wouldn't benefit me in any way, but it just, you're a better rider than I am. And I don't do much off-road, so
I learned
I'm
everything
really looking forward
from
to
him. He's lying.
Yeah, everything, exactly. Well, I'm the old man, so, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it also. And this is the thing too, the majority of the products that I began making were products that I wanted for my own board. Hey, nobody makes this, I'll make it. And then I found, oh, well, other people like this and they want it. Well, that works for a while. But I've begun to realize that there's this whole community out there that ride in a different way than I do. Connecting with you about a year or so back, that was fantastic because I was ushered into a realm, not that I didn't know at all, but you were able to communicate to me certain aspects of the pro riding scene that I had no clue about. And so that's been very helpful for me. Halo foot pads and a lot of the products that I make are maybe suited to me but not to you or whatever, and I understand that. And so the fact that I've become connected both with Jeff and all the guys at1WHEELPARTS, which Jeff and I connected independently, then Brad and I connected, and now we're kind of all together in this. It's been fantastic because my strength is in product development, mechanical problem solving, and that. You're a pro rider. Brad's a lot better at product distribution and marketing, and I think we all bring our own skill set to the table. And what it does is it frees me up. I know there's that poor customer that needs one bearing or one screw or whatever, and I need to be able to cater to them, but I've got this other product that I need to finish developing, and so every facet of the business began to suffer. Now that you guys are doing a lot of the pro level ride testing and the marketing and distribution, I can focus on the designs, and this is why the designs have continued to improve, because my plate has been freed up, and this is something that I think teaming up can only make everything better, and I'm really excited. This next coming year, there's some phenomenal things coming in the one-wheel industry as a whole, but within our group.
Yeah, man, it's been a hell of a ride just the last several months, and I'm so excited about the new stuff that's coming out, dude. So really thank you very much. All right, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is the billets. I've had an amazing time riding the 6-inch billet that you put together this year. It took away, I guess, the biggest issue for the GT. Like straight up when the GT came out, we had the 6.5-inch tire. The first thing that people started doing was learning how to take their XR rims and put it on their GT, and so we've taken that concept, polished it up, made it super performancy, put it out there for everyone, and dude, congratulations. I feel like that was literally the product of the year.
Well, and that, believe it or not, that came about in a sort of an unusual way. What most people talk about right now with the billet wheels is the added performance, and it's got more punch and stronger braking and that. And that's true for a couple of different reasons, a couple of different design aspects of the wheel improve its performance, but that wasn't the purpose of it. What happened was early on when the XR wheels began being mounted on the GT, is it GTR, GTXR, what do we call this? Back early on, I had sort of began paving the way on that, because though you can have the wheels milled to make them fit, it's just a lot of people don't have access to a machine shop, and so we started making the adapter covers, and there were pros and cons to that. Not all GTs will accept an XR wheel electrically. There are Hall sensor issues there, and people were asking $900 for a used XR wheel, and I thought, I can manufacture my own, from billet, which means solid block, from billet aluminum, better than the cast wheel. I can design my own wheel and sell it for less than $900. And so that was really what started the process. I have some electric motor background, and so I thought, well, if we're already making a wheel and we have to put our own magnets in there, why don't we boost the strength of the magnets? So we started doing gauze testing of the stock XR magnets and the GT magnets, and let's bump that up. Let's tighten the magnet to stator tolerance and that. And so we ended up with more performance out of the wheel. But the main thing, though, was just a turnkey way, a product somebody could go online and just order to put their XR tire on a GT, because that 6-inch diameter, there's all the known tires that the XRs are so have been the staple of the XR world for such a long time. Now that opened the door that you could run these on the GT, and that's one of the big beauties of that 6-inch billet wheel. Yeah, you drop that wheel diameter, and therefore you have more sidewall. That's fantastic, a softer ride. But again, it opens the door to all those phenomenal tires. So now you put a billet wheel on a GT and you end up with sort of a supercharged XR. Everyone talks about that nostalgic feel that the XR has. Well, now your GT has that same feel, but with better range, more torque, all of the benefits that the GT brings to the table, you now have with that still that 6-inch size. And yes, you can still run an XR wheel on a GT, but you do sacrifice some performance because the magnets are weaker. So you sacrifice a little bit going that route. So again, going to the stronger magnets, you bring back the performance and then some of the GT with the benefits of the XR tires. And I love it. And I do have a couple boards with stock wheels, and I get on them and I'm like, and I know that my opinion is tainted because I manufacture these things, but it's true. Every time I have friends come over and ride them, or my sons go riding with me, if I hand one of my boys one of the boards with a stock wheel on it, they'll look at it and go, so there is a performance gain there, and I'm excited to see how much further we can take that. We've been able to tweak the performance just a little bit further, an extra couple percent, on this next batch is coming in. So that's a benefit. We've just, over time, we've been finding ways to improve everything, just that next level. It's something we pioneered. We've become experts in these wheels, and now we've been able to take the expertise and pour that into the next batch.
Dude, that's exciting as heck. Yeah, we've been doing this, or you've been doing this for almost 2 years now, right, with the wheels?
Yeah.
And so, man, we're always evolving and getting better, so we appreciate your time and efforts. That brings us along to the next part of this conversation, and that's the 5-inch. People were asking for the 5-inch, so you threw a 5-inch together, and I'm riding one now, and tell us about that.
So the 5-inch, that was also something that a number of people had brought up to me, and early on we were developing the 6-inch wheel was, hey, there's 5-inch kart tires out there too, why don't we go that route? And honestly, there were two reasons that I didn't push that development sooner than now, and that was number one, tire choices, but number two, the barrel size of the wheel is almost 5 inches, and so I knew it was going to be kind of a stretch to get 5-inch tires over that, and I figured this is going to be difficult enough to develop just my own wheel, let alone to go to some weird size. So I thought, what, let's get the 6-inch wheel done. There's all these known tires out there. There's really a few people had mentioned the 5-inch to me. I'm like, why don't we do this? This was a year and a half ago. And but I wanted to debug any potential issues with the 6-inch wheel, refine it down to the pinnacle of performance, and then we could move over and start working on the 5. And so the 5-inch is something that more and more people have been asking about, and what we've done is taken the expertise that we've developed over this last year and a half, 2 years or so that we've been working with the 6-inch wheel, and pour that into the 5-inch. We wanted it to be easily serviceable. I like that 3-piece design. There are a number of benefits to this, and but we had to go from the 6 to the 5-inch. This isn't just, well, let's take the 6-inch wheel and shrink it down. It is, every facet of that wheel is changed. Everything about it is different. And
so I know it, just from outside, I noticed the hardware was different. Are the magnets different? Are they?
So what we kept the same is the same strong magnets, the same thickness of back iron, although the back iron has been changed just functionally for manufacturing purposes, but it's the same thickness, the same strength magnets. So from a core standpoint, the motor is the same from an electrical functional standpoint as our 6-inch, but mechanically all of the sizes, just everything has changed. Even the hardware, the screws had to go from 5mm to 4mm diameter for clearance. I mean, it is not easy getting that size stator to fit into a wheel that will still clear the bead and allow you to install a 5-inch wheel. This was very, very difficult to do. It was also difficult to make the side covers removable as is without disturbing the bead. That was something that took, I would say, at least 50% of the design time was being able to build the wheel in that way. We've also been able to increase the performance just a hair on these, a couple percent. But going back to what I was pointing out with the 6-inch, we've been able to refine things down to find little areas, performance that's been left on the table, so to speak, and being able to extract that out, taking that ladder and climbing for that, to pick that apple off the top of the tree, because we've already picked all the low-hanging fruit, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to improve performance further. But we've been able to find a few little things, and we've implemented that both into the next batch of 6-inch wheels that are coming out, which you guys will have in stock here very shortly, as well as the 5-inch, which we've got beta test wheels that you've been rocking, I've been rocking. We haven't had any problems with them. So we are putting those into production here shortly. I'm excited about it. There are some there are performance characteristics differences between the 5 and 6-inch wheel. Neither one is best in all scenarios. They each have their strength. So in the same way, you have a dune buggy that's going to have balloon tires, or a dragster that's going to have wrinkled tires with a beadlock rim. Same thing with a one wheel. There's going to be certain circumstances that 5-inch tire or 5-inch wheel is really going to be rocking best. There's other times that a 6-inch wheel, with especially those classic that we know and love tires from the XR, is going to be best. My particular riding seems to favor the 6. When I ride my 5 and 6 back to back, I actually prefer the 6. But that's because I do primarily street carving, and I weigh about 180 pounds, give or take. Lighter weight riders or off-road guys, the 5, there's some cushion benefit there. And so it all depends on what you're looking for. One size isn't going to eliminate the other. They each have their strengths. But we've been able to take our knowledge and experience that we've learned with the 6-inch wheel and apply it to the 5-inch. And so we are releasing a mature wheel in the new 5-inch. It's a mature design, just in the 5-inch size. None of us are in this to, it's a paycheck, we'll pay our bills, and hopefully next year will be as good as this. We are in this to make every product that we make the best it can possibly be made, and we are all in it for, this is what we do. I mean, this is not, we're not kidding around here. This isn't a couple of guys screwing around, in their shed and, let's try this one little thing. This is something that we're doing full time. I spend, I don't know, oh my gosh, the amount of time I spend doing designing and redesigning and prototyping and trying to get that last little bit. Our focus is performance first, and then performance quality first. I would say cost would be second. We want that performance at the top of the rung, but these things do need to be attainable by the average person. So there is a balance there, but performance, cost, looks are fine. I like making things look cool, but you know what? It's got to be able to perform. And if I need to revamp my entire line to get 1% or 2% out of something, I will do it. And you guys have seen me do this. So how many times have you guys asked, when's the next, this coming out or that? And I'm like, guys, I got to figure this out. Oh, can you do it? Yeah, it's, As a designer, though, I could keep reiterating. At some point, we need to release a product. But I'm determined to make everything that we manufacture at the highest level we possibly can make it, period. And then we'll deal with everything else after that. And I think that everyone else in the industry, everyone has their intent, right? And I think everybody in the aftermarket loves what they do, and I've had the privilege of talking to and getting to know nearly everybody in the aftermarket. It's a really great, close-knit community, and everybody wants their products promoted, and we're no different. This is a business, and we need to make a living off of it, but I got to tell you, it's something, was it the words that you said to me while we were eating earlier? You said, this is my life, every minute of every day, and that's the way we feel about this. I've always got hobbies that drives my wife crazy, but I wake up in the middle of the night because I've designed something in my sleep, or I've solved a problem in my sleep, and if I don't get up, go and write it down, I'll forget, or I'll forget some aspect of it. And this is what we do. It's who we are, and each of us brings a strength to the table, and together we're a lot stronger than the individuals are separately. So that's, I think, a lot of what has driven us to this point, and I think this will drive us bring us even higher as we drive forward this next year. Crazy stuff coming this next year. Crazy stuff coming.
Oh,
I wish I could say more. Drives Brad crazy because don't, dude, we can't be talking about this stuff. But I want so we got some cool stuff coming.
Well, I really appreciate you guys. I mean, I really appreciate you coming down and checking the shop out, having some Mexican food with us here in
15-hour drive, drove 15 hours for these guys.
Yep. And so, man, really appreciate you. Thank you very much, man. It's been a big pleasure, and I love this stuff. So I'm gonna keep going hard. You know, these guys are gonna keep putting in work too. Yep. And so, I guess that's gonna do it.